The narrative of the film unfolds in a future where the planet has been rendered uninhabitable due to the catastrophic effects of climate change. All forms of vegetation have vanished, leading to a significant reduction in atmospheric oxygen levels. As a result, individuals are compelled to purchase artificial oxygen to ensure their survival. 90% of the Earth is shrouded in darkness, and many succumb to suffocation. In this dire scenario, only one city in Australia remains intact, thanks to the efforts of the Chronocorp Corporation, which produces synthetic oxygen. However, prolonged exposure to this artificial oxygen leads to a lethal condition known as the sickness. Humanity faces imminent extinction within a few years. Ethan White, a resident of this Australian city, works as a mechanic alongside his friend Jude at the Chronocorp Corporation. The corporation is tirelessly striving to discover a cure for the sickness and to devise a means of restoring the planet. Ethan's wife, Xantha, is also afflicted by this disease. Ethan dedicates himself tirelessly, both day and night, to earn enough to provide her with improved oxygen. One day, while Ethan and Jude are working in the tunnel, they receive a summons from Regina Jackson, the Chief Technology Officer of Particle Research at Chronocorp, to her office. Upon their arrival, she introduces herself and informs them that humanity faces extinction within a few years unless significant changes occur. Regina then discloses that Ethan possesses the unique ability to assist in saving humanity. Ethan, taken aback, struggles to accept her claims. However, Regina urges him to visit their laboratory. The laboratory is filled with large machinery. A doctor named Billy Mitchell greets Ethan and briefly examines his wrist device. They proceed to explain that Ethan's father, Dr. Richard White, initiated this project many years prior. The imposing machine before them is known as the Chronicle, a time machine. During the initial experiment conducted with this machine, they transmitted radio waves into it to investigate what lay beyond. They discovered that years later, in a specified year, the Earth would possess sufficient vegetation to generate adequate oxygen levels in the atmosphere, thereby supporting human life. The populace began to believe that if humanity were to endure several centuries into the future, it would likely have resolved the myriad issues afflicting their current existence. Nevertheless, an unusual phenomenon perplexed the scientists present. The waves they transmitted returned altered. Upon decoding the message, they realized that an individual from the future had instructed them to send Ethan White. Consequently, Regina and her entire team are determined to send Ethan into the future to retrieve the cure. Ethan is taken aback by this revelation. He is skeptical and suspects that Regina is merely attempting to deceive him. Furthermore, he is reluctant to abandon his ailing wife to embark on a journey into the future. Thus, he refuses to assist. Later, Ethan and Jude find themselves at a diner, where they purchase crisp oxygen. Jude endeavors to convince Ethan to proceed with the plan and aid in saving humanity. However, Ethan dismisses him with laughter, expressing his desire not to emulate his father. Ethan harbors deep resentment towards his father for his absence throughout his life. 2 decades prior, his father vanished from their home, coinciding with the tragic death of Ethan's mother during his childhood. Since that time, Jude has taken on the role of both an older brother and a close friend, raising Ethan in a supportive environment. Ethan holds his father accountable for abandoning his mother to pursue his own ambitions, and he is determined not to replicate that behavior by leaving his ailing wife. Nevertheless, Jude convinces him that the only hope for saving his wife lies in discovering a cure. Ethan reflects on his 8th birthday when his father gifted him a peculiar box. Upon reaching inside, a device clamped onto his wrist, causing him to bleed, a permanent attachment placed by Richard. Despite the passage of years, Ethan remains unaware of its purpose. Later, he shares the day's events with Xantha, who encourages him to pursue his quest. The next morning, Ethan inscribes the words, "I will find my way back to you," on a metal flower and leaves it beside Xantha. He then returns to Regina's office, asserting that if he can uncover a single cure, it must be administered to Xantha first. Regina agrees and escorts him back to the laboratory. Dr. Mitchell presents the suit that he must don prior to entering the machine. As they start to outline the mission, Ethan becomes aware that there is no established plan. They are uncertain about what he will encounter or whom he will meet on the other side. Nevertheless, after he is suited up, they provide him with an AI device named Archie. Archie will continuously monitor Ethan's vital signs and assist him in navigating his surroundings. Finally, they propel him into the machine. Within the machine, Ethan accelerates rapidly through time. He plummets from the sky and lands in an unfamiliar jungle. The friction generated by the air ignites his suit, prompting him to remove it swiftly. As he surveys his surroundings, he is captivated by the splendor of nature. He realizes that the world has undergone a complete transformation. The trees and natural oxygen have returned. He proceeds in the direction indicated by Archie and encounters a bunker door of some kind. However, what draws his attention is a skeleton positioned directly in front of the door. The skull bears a bullet wound. Upon examining the name tag, he is struck with horror to discover it bears his own name. The skeleton belongs to Ethan. Ethan also locates the recording device belonging to the skeleton and plays the final message. He hears a voice stating that this is the only option, followed by the sound of a gunshot directed at Ethan. At that moment, the device loses power. He is filled with dread, convinced that this is the destiny that lies ahead for him. Then, he observes the wrist device on the skeleton. It resembles Ethan's, but while the light on the skeleton's device glows green, Ethan's has been red throughout his life. That evening, he kindles a fire and consumes wild berries. Unfortunately, the berries prove to be toxic. Ethan experiences vomiting and begins to lose consciousness. Ethan gradually regains consciousness and is taken aback to find Jude standing before him. It becomes apparent that the laboratory detected a decline in Ethan's vital signs and presumed he was experiencing a toxic reaction. In response, they hastily dispatched Jude to the future, equipped with the antidote necessary for his rescue. After some time, Ethan and Jude discover that his skeletal remains are still present, indicating that his destiny remains unaltered. They then utilize Archie to locate an alternative exit. A device scans Ethan's eye, granting them entry. Upon entering, a monitor greets him. It requests a DNA sample. Upon his consent, his wrist device activates, causing him to bleed. Following the blood analysis, the device turns green. The room's lights illuminate, revealing that they are in Chronicorp's laboratory, years into the future. The time machine is also visible before them. Jude expresses enthusiasm, believing they now possess the means to return to the past. But Ethan remains skeptical, asserting that nothing has changed and that he is destined to meet the same fate as the deceased Ethan. Ethan examines the system log and discovers a holographic recording left by his father. In the recording, his father explains that the time machine was initially intended to gather oxygen data from a future planet and relay it back to the past. However, upon activating the time machine for the first time, his father received a message instructing him to send his son to the future. Despite his reservations, he complied and conducted a DNA verification for Ethan. Before long, Ethan and Jude realized that the time machine could not return them to their original time due to its battery being nearly exhausted after years of inactivity. To complicate matters further, the activation of the laboratory initiated a malfunction in the nuclear power core, posing a risk of a nuclear explosion within a mere 4 hours. This situation necessitates that they find a solution to repair the time machine and return before the impending explosion. With time running out, they must act swiftly. Upon venturing outside, they are taken aback by the sight of a desolate city overrun with greenery, yet devoid of human life, indicating that Earth is beginning to heal following human extinction. Human remains are scattered throughout the area. Ethan arrives at his wife's residence, only to discover her bones, plunging him into despair. Jude attempts to convince him to return to the past, as it appears that a cure for the illness does not exist even in this future world. Nevertheless, Jude's remarks raise suspicions in Ethan. He subsequently activates the rusty Archie to replay the recording, from which he identifies Jude's voice, leading him to conclude that Jude is indeed the individual who shot him. Jude aims his firearm at Ethan, vehemently asserting that he would never shoot Ethan. Ultimately, Ethan resolves to prioritize the mission, and through their combined efforts, they successfully repair the power core before returning to the laboratory. With the Chronicle system now operational, they are poised to return to the past, merely needing to wait a few minutes until the portal launches. Once the countdown concludes, the portal will connect for approximately a few seconds. Nevertheless, Ethan observes that his body remains behind a door at the same location, indicating that no alterations have been made to the future. To uncover the truth, Ethan removes the battery from his current Archie and installs it into the rusty version. This action grants him access to another video, wherein he is informed that his future self will be killed by Jude. Jude then admits that altering the future is futile and that he is attempting to safeguard Ethan. Struggling to accept this revelation, Ethan confines his brother to a room and subsequently reviews his father's holographic log from the day of his death. He soon uncovers a dialogue between the CTO of Chronocorp, Regina Jackson, and his father. It has been revealed that Ethan's father aimed to utilize the time machine to save humanity by discovering a cure, while the Chief Technology Officer, CTO, intended to employ the machine solely for her escape from the impending demise, taking only a select few with her. Regardless of the chosen strategy, it is imperative that someone travels into the future to activate the time machine. To facilitate the safe transit of living beings through time, a functional connection is necessary from both temporal points. In an effort to thwart the CTO's scheme, Ethan's father secures the time machine and designates Ethan's DNA as the key for verification. In a fit of rage over this action, the CTO promptly kills Ethan's father. She subsequently instructs Jude to eliminate Ethan's mother and to act as a protector for Ethan, with the intention of using Ethan's wristband to access the future at a later time. Ethan is left in a state of shock. The individual he believed to be his brother is revealed to be the one responsible for his mother's death and is now poised to take his life as well. He also comes to the realization that he misjudged his father, who did not intentionally forsake the family. Understanding that Regina's goal is to select a few individuals for the future, Ethan attempts to deactivate the time machine, but Jude intervenes to prevent him, disclosing that he has been assigned by the CTO to ensure Ethan is sent through time to rectify the power failure. Once Ethan activates the time machine, he is expected to kill Ethan. Nevertheless, Jude has developed a strong emotional bond with Ethan over the years, witnessing his friend, who is like a brother to him, in such a distressed state due to his actions fills him with profound guilt. Consequently, rather than taking Ethan's life, he chooses to end his own. Overwhelmed by anger and remorse, Ethan resolves to honor his father's final wish, to discover a cure and save humanity from its impending demise. He examines the monitor and uncovers the very first message penned by his father. From this, he concludes that the message addressed to Ethan White was indeed sent by himself. Thus, he re-encodes the message and transmits it back in time, along with numerous other items. Meanwhile, in the laboratory of the designated year, the Chief Technology Officer and a select group of individuals await the activation of the time machine with bated breath. To their astonishment, the time machine returns not only hundreds of extinct plant species, but also a recording of Ethan's father's murder. Shortly thereafter, Ethan destroys the time machine, leading to the unraveling of the CTO's scheme. Ultimately, the CTO is apprehended for the murder. The return plants are cultivated to rejuvenate the planet. Ethan's wife receives a flower sent from him, which helps her comprehend his decision. While Ethan remains in the future alone, he lays Jude to rest and finds it in his heart to forgive him. 1. A butterfly draws his gaze, guiding him once more to the same entrance, where Ethan is pleased to observe that the remains of his future self have vanished. He hurries to glimpse the world beyond and experiences a sense of relief upon witnessing a modern, eco-friendly city, a stark contrast to the desolate landscape he had encountered earlier. His choice had altered the course of humanity's future. For more videos of this nature, please subscribe, activate notifications, and give a thumbs up to support the channel. Thanks for watching and do not forget to hit subscribe.